Hey guys, tonight we are diving into one of the most incredible feats of human logistics you've probably never heard of. We're going to travel back about 500 years to the Andes Mountains, to the heart of the vast Inca Empire, and become a Chasqui runner, part of the original express delivery service. Imagine a communications network faster than anything in Europe at the time, operating across some of the most brutal terrain on Earth, all without a single wheel, a written alphabet, or even a horse. Frankly, if you were dropped into this job tomorrow, your biggest accomplishment would probably be tripping over a llama on your first day. It was a system built on pure human endurance. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to see where you're all tuning in from, so drop your city and the time in the comments below. It's always a trip to see our little community scattered across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The air in your family is small, stone houses thick and still, smelling of yesterday's cook fire and the damp earth floor. Outside, the pre-minus dawn light is a thin, gray wash over the terraced fields of your village, still nestled in the deep shadows of the mountain peaks. You are maybe 12, maybe 13 years old. You don't measure time in years the way others will centuries from now. You measure it in seasons of planting and harvesting, in the feel of the sun on your skin. A shadow falls across the single, open doorway. It's not your father, who's already out checking the irrigation channels. It's someone else. B-Man stands there, his silhouette sharp against the growing light. He is a Qhapaq, a local official, a man who speaks for the Empire. You know this instantly from the quality of his alpaca wool tunic, dyed in rich reds and blues, and the large, golden spools that stretch his earlobes, a mark of nobility. He is a man who walks with the authority of the distant, God minus Inca in Cusco. Your mother, stirring by the hearth, goes still. This is not a casual visit. The Couriers eyes scan the small room and land on you. Not on your parents. On you. He has heard the stories. He knows you are the boy who can chase down a runaway vicuna, whose feet barely seem to touch the ground as you race your friends up the steep paths to the high pastures. You are strong, your lungs seasoned by the thin mountain air, your legs hardened by a life spent scrambling up and down the world's second minus highest mountain range. You didn't know it, but your entire life has been an audition. This is your foremost assignment. This is how the Empire replenishes its most vital network. The Chasqui, the runners who are the lifeblood of the Inca state, are chosen young, from families known for their loyalty and fitness. This isn't just a job, it's a form of mitre, the labor tax every able-bodied man owes the Inca. But this, the role of a Chasqui, is a calling of the highest order. It is an immense honor, a sign that your family is held in high esteem. The official steps inside. He doesn't waste words. He speaks to your father, who has just returned, his face a mixture of awe and apprehension. The official explains that you have been chosen. You will leave. You will serve the Empire. He holds out a small, woven pouch, and from it, he carefully selects 3 perfect, green coca leaves. He arranges them in a fan shape and holds them out, a sacred gesture known as a kintu. It's an offering to the Apus, the great mountain spirits who will now be your constant companions, your guardians, and your judges. It's a small, deeply significant ritual that formalizes the moment. This is a transaction sealed by the sacred. You look at your family, then back at the official. It's a moment historians still debate. Was this an honor eagerly sought, or a duty quietly dreaded? The truth is rarely simple. For many families, it was likely a complex mix of both. The prestige was immense, a direct connection to the power of Cusco, but the cost was your childhood, your presence, your life as you knew it. There is no refusing. The Qhapaq Inca's will is absolute. Your life changed the moment that shadow fell across your door. Your mother quietly bundles a small bit of toasted quinoa and some dried meat for you. Your father places a hand on your shoulder, his grip tight with a universe of unspoken words. Pride, fear, hope. You are no longer just his son. You belong to the road now. You belong to the Empire. Stepping out of the darkness of your home and into the cold, sharp light of the Andean morning, you follow the Qhapaq. The village is quiet, but you can feel eyes on you from the doorways of other homes. You are one of them, but you are now set apart. You take a deep breath. The thin, icy air shock to your system. It feels like the first breath of a new life. Your life as a runner, a messenger, a Chasqui. The journey with the Qhapaq is silent. You leave the familiar terraced fields behind, climbing a path you know well, one that leads to the higher grazing grounds. But today, every rock and every turn feels different, foreign. The silence of your companion isn't unkind, but it's absolute. It's the silence of a man for whom this is a routine task, a simple act of administration. For you, it is the severing of your entire world. You climb for what feels like hours, the sun rising high, casting long, sharp shadows that shrink as you ascend. The air grows thinner, colder. You chew on a couple of the coca leaves the Qhapaq gave you earlier, feeling the strange, numbing magic quiet, the ache in your legs and the flutter of panic in your chest. Finally, you reach the crest of a ridge. Below you, your village is a tiny collection of specks, a model of a life you've already left behind. The Qhapaq stops and points, not down, but across the valley. And that's when you see it. It's not a path, not like any you have ever known. The trails you know are winding, organic things, shaped by the feet of generations and the whims of the landscape. They follow the contours of the land, seeking the path of least resistance. This is something else entirely. It is a declaration. A thick, stone-minus-gray line, impossibly straight, cutting across the vast, undulating landscape. It descends one mountainside in a series of perfectly uniform stone steps, crosses the valley floor on a raised causeway, and then begins to climb the opposing mountain without deviation, a scar of purpose carved onto the face of the earth. This is the Qhapaq Ñan, the Great Inca Road, the Royal Road. You've heard whispers of it, but the stories did not do it justice. It is the backbone of the tall wanton Suyu, the four parts together that make up the empire. You are looking at just one tiny segment of a network that spans over 40 kilometers. From the high, cold plains of modern Minas-Day, Ecuador to the fertile river valleys of Chile. It is a masterpiece of engineering, held together by sheer will. The Qhapaq finally speaks, his voice low but clear against the whistle of the wind. He tells you that this road is the Qhapaq Inca's will made manifest. It allows armies to march, goods to flow, and, most importantly, for messages to travel with the speed of a sprinting man. With the speed of you. You take a few steps closer, peering down at it. The road is several meters wide, paved with fitted stones, and flanked by a low stone wall. You see a drainage channel running alongside it, a simple but ingenious feature to prevent the ferocious mountain rains from washing it away. This isn't just a path, it's a piece of architecture, a structure. You learn that its design adapts to the land it conquers. In the deserts, the walls are higher to keep out the shifting sands. In the wetlands, it becomes a stone causeway, lifting travelers above the muck. And here, in the mountains, it becomes a staircase to the heavens. A fundamental rule becomes clear to you. This road is not for everyone. You cannot simply decide to take a walk on the Qhapaq Ñan. It is for official state business only. To be on this road is to be a part of the imperial machine. The common farmer, the local weaver, the potter, they use the old paths. This road is for soldiers, for officials, for nobles, and for Chasqui. The very act of stepping onto it will elevate your status. You are no longer a boy from a village. You are an agent of the state. As you stare at its unyielding straightness, you can't help but wonder why. The winding paths are often easier. Why fight the mountains so directly? Historians today still puzzle over this. Some argue it was purely for efficiency, the straightest line being the fastest. Others believe it had a deeper, symbolic purpose. Perhaps it was a statement of power, showing that the Inca could impose their will even on the mighty Apus, the mountain spirits. Or maybe it served a cosmological function, with some sections aligning with celestial events or connecting sacred sites. Or who cares? You find yourself looking at the road not as a path, but as a thought, an idea. You wonder if the man who designed this was trying to save time, or if he was trying to prove a point to the mountains themselves. The Qhapaq gestures for you to follow him down the slope. It's time. The small, winding track of your old life is about to merge with the grand, stone-paved highway of your future. As your sandals touch the perfectly fitted stones, the feeling is jarring. It's solid, unyielding, completely different from the soft earth and loose gravel you're used to. The sound of your own footsteps is suddenly sharp, clear, and loud in the vast silence of the highlands. You have stepped onto the system. The journey to your training, and to the rest of your life, has truly begun. The place you are taken to is not a village and not quite a military barracks. It's a specialized training camp, a Eye of sorts, but not for learning about the stars or the gods. This school is for learning the language of the road, the grammar of pure physical exertion. You are not alone. There are other boys here, brought from different villages, all with the same look in their eyes, a mixture of fear, pride, and the deep, quiet homesickness that settles in the chest. Your new life is stripped down to its essentials. Running, eating, sleeping. There are no leisurely mornings, no games with friends. Your days are governed by a stern, minus-faced instructor, a retired Chasqui whose face is a roadmap of wrinkles carved by sun and wind, and whose legs are corded with the memory of 1,000,000 steps. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His quiet disappointment is more potent than any roar. The first lesson is the most fundamental. Breathing. You thought you knew how to breathe. You've been doing it your whole life in the thin air of the Andes. You are wrong. The instructor teaches you to breathe in rhythm with your stride. A deep, controlled cadence that maximizes every particle of the oxygen minus poo air. He makes you run with a mouthful of small pebbles, forcing you to breathe through your nose, a technique designed to warm and humidify the cold, dry mountain air before it hits your lungs. It's awkward and uncomfortable, but you quickly learn its value as your runs get longer and stretch into the colder parts of the day. Then comes the running itself. It begins not with sprints, but with agonizingly long, slow trots. You run for hours, up and down the mountain slopes surrounding the camp, your body screaming for a rest that never comes. The goal isn't speed, not yet. It's endurance. The instructor is building a new kind of engine inside you, one that can burn for hours without sputtering out. He is teaching your muscles to be frugal, to sip energy rather than gulp it. You learn to read the road with your feet. You practice running on loose gravel, on uneven stone, on steep staircases, and even blindfolded for short distances, letting the soles of your feet become your eyes. You learn to place your weight perfectly, to anticipate a loose stone before it turns an ankle, to master the controlled fall of running downhill without letting gravity steal your energy or your footing. Every run is a lesson in focus and efficiency. The training is a brutal process of attrition. Some boys can't keep up. Their bodies give out, or their spirit breaks. They are quietly sent back to their villages, the silent shame of their failure a powerful motivator for those who remain. One of the strangest and most debated aspects of this training involves what you do when you're not running. You are taught to be still, absolutely still, to sit for long periods, conserving every drop of energy, controlling your heart rate, entering a state of focused rest. It's a physical discipline as demanding as the running itself. Some scholars suggest this was a form of meditation, a way to mentally prepare for the solitude of the road. Others think it was purely practical, a way to recover faster and be ready to explode into action at a moment's notice. A curious part of your training involves memorization drills. The instructor will show you a complex arrangement of objects, stones, leaves, and colored feathers, and then cover them. You have to run a kilometer minus long circuit and, upon your return, recreate the pattern exactly. Or he will speak a short, complicated message, full of specific details, 5 black llamas, 10 sacks of potatoes, and a message for the KU or Aka VIL Cashew man are arriving in 2 days, and you must repeat it back, word for word, after a grueling run. Your mind must be as strong as your legs. A Chasqui who delivers a garbled message is worse than no Chasqui at all. You grow stronger. The initial ache in your muscles transforms into a deep, resilient power. The fire in your lungs banks into a steady, controlled burn. You are being systematically broken down and rebuilt into something new. You are no longer a boy who can run. You are a runner. The purpose of your body is being refined, narrowed down to a single, sacred function, to carry a message. Your identity is slowly being stripped away and replaced by your duty. The final test is a continuous, day minus and minus night, relay race with the other remaining trainees. A grueling, non-minus stop circuit that pushes you to the absolute limit of your new abilities. It's here that you must prove you have mastered it all. The breathing, the stride, the focus, the stillness, the memory. You must prove you are ready for the Qhapaq Ñan. After weeks of honing your body into a finely minus-tuned running machine, your instructor introduces you to the heart of your true purpose. It's not just about carrying spoken messages. The Empire is far too complex for that. One afternoon, he gathers the remaining trainees and sits you down. From a carefully guarded pouch, he pulls out not a weapon or a tool, but a cluster of colored strings. They are suspended from a primary cord, with other, smaller strings dangling from them like the branches of a willow tree. Knots of all shapes and sizes are tied along their lengths. This is a quipu. You look at the object, a tangle of wool and cotton that seems more like a decoration or a child's toy than a piece of imperial technology. The instructor holds it up. This, he says, his voice laced with a reverence you haven't heard before, is the memory of the Empire. It is its voice. It is the truth. You will carry it, but you will never truly read it. This is the central paradox of your job. You are a messenger, but the messages you carry are locked in a code you are not meant to fully understand. Your instructor explains the basics. You learn to recognize that the type of fiber used, cotton or wool, don't have meaning. The colors of the strings are a primary layer of information. A yellow string might represent gold, or corn, depending on the context. Red could signify a soldier or a battle. White might mean silver, or peace. Black could represent time. The variations are endless, and their specific meanings could change from one region to another, a kind of local dialect within the system. Then there are the knots. You learn that the position of a knot on a string indicates its value, much like a decimal system. Knots at the very bottom represent ones, higher up are tens, then hundreds, and so on. There are different kinds of knots. 2. A simple overhand knot, a figure -8 knot, a long knot with multiple turns. Each type of knot can signify a different value. A long knot with 4 turns, for instance, might represent the number 4. You practice holding them, feeling their weight and texture. Your instructor hands you a simple quipu and tells you what it says. This represents the tribute from your home village. These 3 yellow strings are for corn. The nuts on this first string show the tally from the last harvest. This brown string is for potatoes. The white string here, with the small red thread twisted into it, represents the number of pure white llamas promised for a state sacrifice. It's overwhelming. You are holding a spreadsheet made of string. This is how the Empire tracks everything: census data, warehouse inventories, harvest yields, tribute payments, military numbers. The quipu, Mayosias, the keepers of the quipas, are the accountants and scribes of the empire, a specialized class of officials who can both create and interpret these intricate devices. Your job is simply to transport them with the utmost care. But as you handle the quipu, you begin to wonder, is it all just numbers? A question that historians and archaeologists are still fiercely debating today. The Spanish, when they arrived, were baffled. They saw it primarily as a mnemonic device, a tool for accounting. But many chronicles from the era hint at something more. Could a quipu hold narratives, histories, or even poems? Some scholars argue that certain combinations of color, fiber, and knot type could represent non-minus numerical concepts, perhaps even phonetic syllables, creating a true 3- dimensional form of writing. Others remain convinced it was a highly sophisticated but purely mathematical system. This debate over narrative quipas is one of the great unsolved mysteries of the Andes. You are taught the proper way to carry it, looped and secured, often tucked into a small, durable bag called a chuspa. You learn that you must protect it from moisture, from snagging on branches, from anything that could alter or damage the nuts. The information contained in this delicate bundle of strings could be more valuable than a sack of gold. A misplaced knot, a broken string, it could mean a village is taxed incorrectly, an army is sent to the wrong place, or a vital piece of history is lost forever. Holding the quipu, you feel the tangible weight of the empire's knowledge. It feels ancient and deeply mysterious. You are being entrusted with a secret language, one that you can carry but not speak. Your role is becoming clear. You are not just the legs of the empire. You are the guardian of its memory in transit. With the mysteries of the quipu impressed upon you, the final piece of your essential toolkit is revealed. It's not something you carry in a bag, but something you carry to your lips. The instructor holds up a large, spiraled seashell, its surface worn smooth by countless hands, its colors faded to a pearly gray. It's a puchurtillo, a conch shell trumpet. He explains that this is your voice on the road. The Qhapaq Ñan is a system of speed and efficiency, and there is no time for formal greetings or lengthy handovers. The approach of a Chasqui must be announced in advance, giving the next runner in the relay time to prepare, to get ready to spring into action the moment you arrive. The puchurtillo is the starting gun for the next leg of the race. The instructor shows you how to hold it, how to purse your lips against the small, carved opening at the shell's apex. He takes a deep breath, that same controlled, powerful breath he taught you on your first day, and blows. The sound that erupts from the shell is not musical. It's a raw, powerful blast, a low, resonant moan that seems to vibrate in your very bones. It echoes off the surrounding mountains, a sound that is both mournful and urgent. It cuts through the constant whistle of the wind, a human mind-made sound designed to dominate the natural landscape. It says one thing with absolute clarity: I am coming. Be ready. Now it's your turn. You take the shell. It feels cool and heavy in your hands, a piece of the distant ocean brought high into the mountains. You put it to your lips, trying to mimic the instructor's posture. Your first attempt is a pathetic, "That is squeak." The other boys snicker. The instructor's face remains impassive. You try again, focusing, channeling your breath. This time, a wavering, sputtering note emerges. It's not the confident blast of the instructor, but it's a start. You practice for hours, until your lips are sore and your head feels light. You learn that the sound can be subtly modulated. A series of short blasts might mean one thing. Delon, sustained call another, though the specific language of the Pututiu is something lost to time. Historians speculate that there might have been a simple code, perhaps indicating the urgency of the message or the direction the runner was headed. But no definitive evidence survives. It was a practical language learned and understood only by those who lived by its call. The Pututiu connects you to a deeper history. The use of conch shell trumpets in the Andes is ancient, predating the Inca Empire by thousands of years. They have been found in the ruins of Chave in Diawanta, a ceremonial center that flourished over 2 millennia before you were born. There, they were likely used in religious rituals, their sound perhaps thought to be the voice of a god or a portal to the spirit world. The Inca, masters of absorption, took this sacred instrument and repurposed it for a profoundly practical, administrative purpose. They transformed the voice of a deity into the sound of their imperial postal service. One of the more peculiar tidbits you learn is the importance of the shell itself. Not just any conch will do. The most prized shells for Pututias come from the warm coastal waters to the north, in what is now Ecuador. They are a valuable trade good, carried hundreds, if not thousands, of kilometers into the heart of the empire. A high-minus quality Pututiu, one with a deepened carrying tone, is a sign of status. It means the system is working, that goods from the farthest reaches of the empire can find their way to the hands of a simple runner like you. Finally, you succeed. You fill your lungs, your diaphragm tight, and produce a clear, strong blast that echoes across the valley. The sound seems to hang in the air for an eternity. In that sound, you hear your new identity. You are the approaching message. You are the urgency. The instructor gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod of approval. You now have your voice. You practice running with the Pututiu slung over your shoulder on a simple cord. You learn to bring it to your lips without breaking stride, to sound the call as you round a bend about a kilometer from the next relay station. The sound will be your herald, the signal that sets the next link in the great chain of communication into motion. It's the sound of the Empire's nervous system firing, a signal passing from one neuron to the next, all carried on a single, powerful breath. Your training is complete. The day comes when you are formally assigned to a stretch of the Qhapaq Ñan. You are no longer a trainee in the camp but an active Chasqui, a working cog in the great machine. The instructor gives you your few essential items: a new Qhapaq for carrying coca leaves, a small pouch for toasted grains, and your own Pututiu, its surface still shiny and new. You are escorted to your designated post, a journey of several days along the Royal Road. The other boys you trained with are peeled off one by one, sent to their own lonely assignments along different routes. Finally, you arrive at what will be your home for the foreseeable future. It is a tembo. Don't picture a cozy inn or a bustling way station. The grander tamboes in the empire are like small towns, with huge storehouses, QLQS, lodging for armies and officials, and corrals for llamas. But you are not assigned to one of those. You are assigned to a Chasqui, a smaller, more specialized relay station built specifically for runners. It is, to put it bluntly, a stone hut. It's a simple, circular structure, maybe 3 meters in diameter, with a low doorway and a thick, thatched roof designed to withstand the brutal highland weather. It is built right alongside the Qhapaq Ñan, positioned for maximum efficiency. Inside, it's sparse. There's a raised platform that serves as a bed, covered with dry aicha grass and a couple of thick alpaca wool blankets. In the center is a small, stone-lined pit for a fire, though fuel is scarce at this altitude. That's it. There are no decorations, no personal effects. It is a space of pure function. You are not alone here, but you might as well be. Each Chasqui is manned by 2 Chasquis, while one of you is on active duty, waiting for the next runner to arrive. The other is designated as the rest runner. This rest is deceptive. It means you are responsible for maintaining the hut, gathering the tuff, resin, a shard, a shrub for fuel, ensuring there is a supply of fresh water from a nearby spring, and preparing the simple meals of boiled potatoes or quinoa. Your life is a constant, quiet oscillation between two states: coiled, nervous anticipation and weary, functional rest. Your partner is a slightly older boy named Couriers. He doesn't greet you with warmth, but with a simple nod. The bond between Chasqui is not one of friendship in the conventional sense. It's a professional understanding built on shared hardship and mutual dependence. You will rely on him to be ready when you arrive, and he will rely on you. Words are often unnecessary. You communicate through routine. You learn his rhythms, the way he prepares for a run, the way he chooses coca leaves. The location of your hut is strategic. The Inca were masters of this. A tambo is typically situated about every 20-25 kilometers, but the smaller Chasqui stations like yours are much closer together. The distance between relay points for a Chasqui is not a fixed number of kilometers. Instead, it is a measure of effort. In flat, easy terrain, the distance might be longer. Here, in the steep, unforgiving mountains, your assigned route is only about 2 to 3 kilometers long. It's a short, brutal sprint, designed to be covered at maximum speed. A little minus known fact about these stations is their incredible number. While historical records are incomplete, archaeologists estimate that there may have been thousands of these small huts along the Qhapaq Ñan, creating an incredibly dense network. Imagine modern highway with an off-minus ramp and a rest stop every couple of miles. It was an immense investment in infrastructure, all dedicated to one thing: speed. You settle into our routine, waiting, listening. You sit at the door of your hut, your eyes scanning the long, straight line of the road as it disappears into the distance. Every distance speck, every flicker of movement, sends a jolt of adrenaline through you. Is it Olama, a shadow from a passing cloud? Or is it him, the incoming runner? Your ears are constantly strained for the faint, mournful cry of a puchutiu. The solitude is profound. The only sounds are the wind, the cry of a distant karakara bird, and the thumping of your own heart. It's a life of extreme isolation, punctuated by moments of intense, explosive effort. Historians have often wondered about the psychological toll this must have taken on such young men. Were they lonely? Or was this solitude seen as a kind of spiritual state, a closeness to the peers? You find that the silence gives you time to think. You think about your family, about the strange knotted strings you might one day carry, about the vast, unseen empire that your legs now serve. Your world has shrunk to this stone hut, this short stretch of road, and the endless, waiting sky. The waiting feels like an eternity. For days, the road remains empty. The wind whistles, the sun traces its path across the sky, and the silence is broken only by your own breathing and the quiet movements of Couriers, your partner. You practice your breathing. You stretch your muscles. You chew your coca leaves, feeling their subtle energy holding off the lethargy into the cold. You are a coiled spring, and the lack of release is a unique kind of torture. Then, one afternoon, it happens. It's not a sight, but a sound. Faint, carried on the wind, but unmistakable. The low, urgent cry of a puchutiu. Couriers, who is on duty, immediately tenses. He stands up, his entire body language shifting from rest to readiness. He spits out his wad of coca leaves, takes a sip of water, and positions himself at the very edge of the road, facing the direction of the sound. He is a statue of perfect potential energy. You watch, your heart hammering in your chest, even though this is not your run. Soon, A tiny speck appears on the road in the distance. It grows rapidly, resolving itself into the form of a running man. He is impossibly fast, his arms pumping, his stride devouring the ground. This is the first time you've seen a true Chasqui in action, not as a trainee, but as a link in the life chain. As he gets closer, maybe 100 meters away, he starts to shout. It's not a full message, just key words, gasped out between desperate breaths. Cusco, message, Saber Inca, urgent. This is a critical part of the process, ensuring that if the runner collapses at the last moment, or if the handover is fumbled, the core of the verbal message has a chance of making it through. The incoming runner doesn't slow down. He runs directly at Cory. In the final few seconds, he holds out a quipu, its strings flying. Cory, already beginning to move, matches his pace for a few steps, running alongside him. In that brief, fluid motion, the quipu is passed from one hand to the other. The verbal message is repeated one last time, a few more gasped words. And then, it's over. The incoming runner, his duty done, stumbles to a halt, hands on his knees, his chest heaving as he pulls in ragged gulps of air. Cory, however, is already gone. He has exploded into a full sprint, the quipu secure in his hand, accelerating down the road in the opposite direction. The entire exchange took less than 5 seconds. There were no pleasantries, no questions. It was a seamless transfer of momentum and information. You watch Cory disappear, his form shrinking until he is just a speck, and then nothing. The runner who arrived, a boy not much older than you, stumbles into your hut and collapses onto the grass bed, his body trembling with exhaustion. It is your job to care for him, to give him water and a handful of toasted quinoa. He is your responsibility until he has recovered enough to become the rest runner at this station. 2 days later, it's your turn. You are on watch. Cory is resting. You hear the blast of a puchu from the direction Cory went. Your blood runs cold, then hot. This is it. You stand at the edge of the road, your body humming with a mixture of terror and exhilarating readiness. You see the runner approaching. It's Cory. BTS shouting. Tribute. Report. VIL Qhapaq Ñan. No urgency. He holds out the quipu. You begin to run, matching his stride. The knotted strings are slapped into your palm. They feel heavy, alive with significance. Tribute report for the Qhapaq. He gasps. You have it. You don't look back. You are sprinting. The world narrows to the stone path in front of you, the pounding of your feet, the fire in your lungs, and the precious weight of the quipu in your hand. The 2 kilometers of your designated route have never seemed so long. Your training takes over. You control your breathing. You focus on your footfalls. The weight of the message feels immense. What if you trip? What if you drop the quipu? The fate of a village's tribute. The accuracy of the Empire's great ledger rests in your ability to cover this short, brutal distance. You round the final bend before your destination. The next Chasqui was I. You raise your own puchu to your lips, your movements clumsy with adrenaline and glow. The sound that comes out is shaky, but it's there. You see him, your counterpart at the next station, already standing, waiting. You gasp out the key words. Tribute. VIL Qhapaq Ñan. Report. You run towards him, your lungs burning, and hold out the quipu. He begins to run, takes it from your hand, and in a flash, he is past you, speeding away. You stumble to a halt, the transfer complete. You stand there for a moment, gasping for air, watching the message continue its journey without you. You did it. You were a link in the chain, and the chain did not break. The immense pressure releases in a wave of exhaustion and profound, dizzying relief. After the adrenaline of your first successful run fades, a new reality sets in. the gnawing, constant hunger. The energy required to be a Chasqui is immense. Your body is a furnace, and it demands fuel. Not just any fuel, but high-minus quality, efficient, portable fuel. The diet of a Chasqui is not one of luxury, but of pure, calculated performance science, developed over generations of trial and error. Your daily rations are simple, but they are potent. The foundation of your diet, the thing you consume most, is not what you'd expect. It's leaves. Specifically, coca leaves. Before you go getting any modern ideas, let's be clear. For you, the coca leaf is not a party drug. It is a sacred tool, a gift from the gods. You don't process it. You chew it. You are given a daily portion, which you keep in your Chhapaq, a small, beautifully woven bag. You take a wad of dried leaves and place them in your cheek, adding a tiny speck of crushed lime or ash from a quinoa stalk. This catalyst, an alkaline substance, is clear. It activates the alkaloids in the leaves, releasing their magic. The effect is not a dramatic high. It's a slow, steady release of energy. The hunger pangs in your stomach quiet down. The fatigue in your muscles recedes. The biting cold of the high-minus altitude air seems less severe. It sharpens your focus, allowing you to maintain concentration during the long, monotonous hours of waiting and the explosive bursts of running. It's a low-minus grade stimulant, a hunger suppressant, and a mild anesthetic all in one. Modern science confirms what the Inca knew intuitively. Coca leaves contain nutrients and alkaloids that help with altitude sickness and provide a steady boost of energy. For you, chewing coca is as natural and essential as drinking water. But you can run on leaves alone. Your primary source of carbohydrates comes from the superfoods of the Andes, quinoa and maize. You don't eat big, sit-minus-down meals. Instead, you have small pouches of toasted grains. There's cancha, toasted maize kernels, like a primitive popcorn, that provide a satisfying, crunchy burst of energy. And there's quinoa, the mother grain, toasted and ground into a fine powder called quipu. You can mix this with a little water to make a quick, nourishing porridge, or even eat the powder dry, a dense, earthy fuel that sits well in the stomach. Potatoes, another staple of the Andes, are also part of your diet, but in a specific form perfect for your job. You eat chinel, or freeze-minus dried potatoes. The process is ingenious. Local communities spread potatoes on the ground to freeze in the cold mountain nights. Then, during the day, they trample them to press out the water and let them dry in the sun. This process is repeated for days, until the potatoes become small, light, rock-minus-hard pebbles. They are almost weightless and can be stored for years without spoiling. A handful of tuna, rehydrated in boiling water, provides a massive dose of carbohydrates. It's the original instant mashed potato, and it's perfect for a tambo where food needs to be shelf-minus-stable for long periods. A fascinating and still minus debated part of the Chasqui diet involves protein. While you occasionally get charqui, dried llama or alpaca meat, some historical accounts suggest that Chasquis were given a special supplement, macaw brains. The belief, according to some early Spanish chroniclers, was that consuming the brain of the colorful, intelligent macaw would enhance a runner's memory and intelligence, vital for accurately relaying verbal messages. Most historians are skeptical of this claim, viewing it as a sensationalized or misunderstood account. There's no archaeological evidence to support it, and it may have been an exaggeration. Still, it's a bizarre little footnote in the story of your diet, a piece of bro science from the 15th century. You learn to manage your intake with precision. You eat a little before a run for energy, but not so much that it will weigh you down. You consume the bulk of your food during your rest period, helping your muscles recover and rebuild. This carefully calibrated diet is what allows you to function at the peak of human performance in one of the world's most challenging environments. It's a testament to the Incas' deep understanding of their land and the resources it provided. Your body is an imperial tool, and this is its high-minus performance fuel. The sun dips below the jagged peaks, and the world is painted in the fleeting, fiery colors of an Andean sunset. The familiar landscape of your route transforms into something alien and new. Your duties do not end when the light fails. The Empire never sleeps, and so, neither can its messengers. Running at night is a different beast entirely. Your first night run is a terrifying prospect. The Qhapaq Ñan, so clear and defined by day, dissolves into a faint, silvery ribbon under the moonlight. The familiar stones on steps become treacherous, unpredictable shapes. A small dip in the road is an invisible pit. A familiar rock is a startling monster at the edge of your vision. But then you look up, away from the fires of any city or town. The night sky is a revelation. The Milky Way, which you know as Mio, the celestial river, is not a faint, dusty path. It's a brilliant, churning torrent of light, so dense with stars it looks like you could reach up and scoop them out with your hands. The constellations are sharp and clear. The llama, the fox, the serpent. The sky is not a black ceiling. It's a second, luminous landscape hanging above you. Running under this celestial canopy is a profoundly spiritual experience. You feel small and insignificant, yet also deeply connected to the cosmos. The appeals, the mountain spirits, feel closer. They're dark, sleeping forms silhouetted against the star-dusted sky. You are a tiny, fleeting spark of warmth and movement in a vast, cold, and eternal world. The practical challenges are immense. Your senses must adapt. Your eyes learn to pick out the subtle differences in shadow, to trust the muscle memory in your feet more than what you can see. Your hearing becomes hyper-acute. The sound of a loose stone skittering under your sandal is magnified. The distant cry of a night bird, the rustle of the viscacha in the Aiju grass, every sound is a piece of information. The Inca, being brilliant pragmatists, had a solution for this, though its use was likely reserved for the most critical messages or the most treacherous, moonless nights. You were taught how to run with a torch. It's not a simple stick on fire. It's a tightly bound bundle of cloth or reeds, soaked in some form of resin or animal fat. It burns with a steady, smoky light. Running with fire is a skill in itself. You must hold it aloft, careful not to let the sparks fly into your own face or set fire to the dry grasses along the road. The flickering light creates a small, dancing bubble of vision around you, but it also deepens the darkness beyond its reach. It's a trade minus off, clarity in your immediate path for blindness to the wider world, and it announces your presence to anyone, or anything, that might be watching from the shadows. This leads to one of the lesser-minus known aspects of the Chasqui system, the idea of a lunar and solar Chasqui. Some historians have proposed that the core of runners may have been divided into two specialties. The solar Chasquis, the majority, would operate during the day, but a specialized, elite group of lunar Chasquis, men with exceptional night vision and bravery, would be tasked with the most urgent nocturnal missions. This is largely speculative, based on the logical need for such a division and a few ambiguous colonial-era accounts. There's no definitive proof, but as you run through the profound darkness, the logic of it feels undeniable. It seems like a job for a specialist. The silence of the night run is different from the silence of the day. It's heavier, more complete. There is no wind, only the still, cold air. The only sound is the rhythmic puff of your own breath, the slap of your sandals on stone, and the pounding of your heart in your ears. It's a deeply meditative state. Just you, the road, the message, and the stars. When you finally see the faint, welcoming flicker of a fire at the next Chasqui was I, The sense of relief is overwhelming. You hand off your quipu and your torch to the waiting runner, who plunges back into the darkness. As you recover, wrapped in a blanket and staring into your own small fire, the immensity of what you do sinks in, while the rest of the empire sleeps. This thin, fragile line of running men keeps it connected, a chain of flickering lights passing secrets through the vast, silent dark of the Andes. Your life settles into a rhythm defined by the short, brutal sprints in the long, silent waits. You become accustomed to the biting wind and the thin air of your mountain post. You know every stone on your 2- kilometer stretch of the Qhapaq Ñan. Then, one day, an official arrives. He is not a Ku or Aka from a nearby village, but a traveling administrator from a regional capital. He inspects your station, asks a few sharp questions, and consults a quipu he carries. Then he looks at you and tells you, you are being reassigned. The news is delivered with the impersonal efficiency of the state. You are a resource, and you are needed elsewhere. You will travel south, a journey of many weeks, to a different part of the empire, a different part of the road. There is no argument. You pack your meager belongings, say a brief, functional goodbye to Couriers, and follow the official. As you travel, the world changes. You descend from the highlands, the air growing thick and heavy, the temperature rising with every step down. The familiar snow-capped peaks recede behind you, replaced by dry, brown hills. And then you arrive. It's a section of the Qhapaq Ñan that runs along the coast, a stone's throw from the great expanse of the Pacific Ocean, which the Inca call Mamacucha. This is the desert. The sun is not the crisp, distant star of the mountains. It's a hammer, beating down from a mercilessly blue sky. The air, far from being thin, is thick with salt and moisture, heavy and hard to draw into your lungs, which are built for the opposite conditions. The road here is different, too. It's not paved with tightly fitted stones, but is often a wide, cleared track, bordered by low walls of adobe brick. The walls serve a simple purpose, to keep the ever-shifting sands from swallowing the path. In some places, where the wind is fierce, the road is simply marked by a series of tall wooden posts, a dotted line across the empty landscape. You've traded the risk of freezing for the certainty of baking. Your Highland sandals, the tougher skirt is made of llama hide, are poorly suited for this new world. The sand is like hot coals, and you feel it searing the soles of your feet. You wonder if the Chasqui, you wear something different. A small, practical question that highlights the massive logistical reality of the empire. Did the state provide different equipment for different climate zones? This is a detail lost to time, a subject of quiet speculation among archaeologists. For you, it's a very present misery. Your new route is longer, flatter, but in many ways, more grueling. The monotony is a challenge to your focus. Instead of treacherous steps, you face the shimmering haze of heat rising from the ground, creating mirages that trick your eyes. Dehydration is your new enemy, a constant, silent threat. But the Empire's reach is not just mountains and desert. On another reassignment, you are sent to the Andes, the eastern quarter of the Empire, where the Andes bleed into the Amazon basin. Here you enter the Uncas, the cloud forests. The change is breathtaking and oppressive. The world becomes a wall of green. The air is so humid it feels like you are drinking it. The road here is a testament to the Empire's sheer, stubborn will. It is a narrow stone path, slick with moss and constant moisture, fighting an ever-ascending battle with the jungle, which seems to be actively trying to swallow it whole. Giant ferns overhang the path, and thick vines dangle like snares. The silence of the mountains and the desert is replaced by a cacophony of life. The air hums with insects. The trees are alive with the chatter of monkeys and the calls of exotic birds you've never seen. The ground is soft and muddy. Your enemies here are not altitude or heat, but mudslides, sudden river-floods, and the thousand unseen things that crawl and hide in the dense undergrowth. You realize that being a Chasqui is not one job, but many. Each region requires a different set of skills, a different kind of endurance. You see firsthand that the Tawant in Suyu is not a single, monolithic landscape, but a patchwork of wildly different worlds, stitched together by this single, unwavering road. The genius of the Qhapaq Ñan is not just in its construction, but in its adaptability. It is a single idea expressed in a dozen different ways, using whatever materials the local land provided. You are no longer just a mountain runner. You are runner of the empire, and the empire is deserts, and jungles, and coasts, and highlands. This rotation through different environments, you realize, makes you more resilient, more valuable. It also serves a deeper purpose. It shows you, a boy from a tiny mountain village, the sheer scale and diversity of the world the Qhapaq Inca commands. It is a form of education, a way of impressing upon you the vastness of the system you serve, one grueling, exotic kilometer at a time. As you move through these different landscapes and interact with dozens of other runners, you begin to absorb the silent, unwritten rules that govern your existence. There is no manual, no formal lecture on etiquette. There is only observation and the swift, unspoken judgment of your peers. The code of the Chasqui is learned on the road itself. The first and most important rule is the sanctity of the handover. You've practiced it, but now you understand its deeper meaning. It is a sacred moment, a trust exercise performed at full speed. You learn to read the body language of the incoming runner from 100 meters away. Is his stride faltering? Is he favoring a leg? This information prepares you for a potentially clumsy pass. You learn to present the quipu perfectly, holding it out so the next runner can grab it without fumbling. To cause a fumble, to drop the quipu, is the ultimate disgrace. It's a mark of incompetence that will follow you, whispered from one jambo to the next down the line. Then there is the rule of silence. When you are the resting runner, caring for the one who has just arrived, you do not pepper him with questions. You do not ask, what was the message? Who was it from? Was it urgent? The contents of the quipu in the verbal message are not your concern. Your curiosity is a liability. Your job is to be a vessel, not a reader. You provide water, food, and a place to rest in a silence that shows respect for the runner's exhaustion and the confidentiality of the information he just carried. Small talk is rare and functional, usually about the condition of the road ahead. Watch for a rock slide to bend past the old tree, or the stream is running high. You learn the subtle hierarchy of the road. While all Chasquis are part of a brotherhood, there is a clear distinction between a runner carrying a message for a local Qhapaq and one carrying a message from Cusco, bearing the mark of the Qhapaq Inca. An imperial message, often identifiable by a special red thread or a feather attached to the quipu, grants you a higher level of priority. If two Chasquis were to somehow arrive at a temple at the same time, the one with the imperial message would always, without question, be attended to first. There's also an unspoken code regarding personal space and possessions in the cramped Chasqui was I. Your chuspa, your coca leaves, your small personal pouch of toasted grains, these are yours. To touch another Chasquis gear without permission is a grave offense. In a life stripped down to so few belongings, these small items represent your entire personal world. Respect for them is paramount. One of the most peculiar and debated rules relates to your interactions with others on the road. The Qhapaq Ñan is for official use, but you are not the only one on it. You might pass a column of soldiers, a noble being carried in a litter, or a train of llamas laden with goods for the state storehouses. The rule is simple. You yield to no one. As a Chasqui in the act of carrying a message, you are the most important person on the road. Armies will part for you. The litter of a nobleman will be hastily moved aside. Your speed is the empire's speed, and it cannot be impeded. This is a stunning reversal of the normal social order. You, a boy from a common family, are temporarily elevated above generals and aristocrats. However, this privilege is conditional and fleeting. The moment the message is handed off, you revert to your normal status. This has led some historians to describe the Chasqui as existing in a kind of liminal state, a temporary condition of being betwixt and between the normal social hierarchies. You are simultaneously a low-minus status commoner and a high-minus priority imperial agent. You also learn the code of honesty. If you are injured, if you feel sickness setting in, you must report it to your partner or the keeper of the tambo immediately. To attempt to run when you are not at full capacity is to risk the entire system. It is better to admit weakness and be temporarily replaced than to fail on the road. This culture of absolute accountability is what makes the network so resilient. These roles, taken together, form a powerful social structure. They foster discipline, trust, and an intense focus on the mission. It's a culture designed to strip away your individuality and reinforce your identity as a Chasqui. You are not Curry, or Qhapaq, or an anonymous boy from a mountain village. You are a link in a chain, and your only value lies in your strength and reliability. Most of the time, the things you carry are abstract. They equip you as a bundle of numbers, a spreadsheet of harvest data or census figures. A verbal message is a string of words, an order or a report. But one day, you are handed something completely different. It's not a quipu. It's a small, tightly woven basket, surprisingly heavy for its size. Inside, nestled in damp seaweed, is a fish. The runner who hands it to you is panting, his words urgent. For the Qhapaq Inca, from the coast, move. This is one of the legendary, almost mythical, duties of the Chasqui network, delivering fresh food over vast distances for the emperor's table. The Qhapaq Inca, the living god on earth, residing high in the mountain capital of Cusco, hundreds of kilometers from the ocean, could dine on fresh seafood. This wasn't just a luxury, it was a staggering display of power. It was a way for the emperor to demonstrate his absolute command over the vast and varied territory of the Tawat and Suyu, to make the ocean itself pay tribute to the mountains. The logistics behind this feat are mind-boggling, and you are now a critical part of it. The process would begin at the coast, where a fisherman would hand his finest catch to the first Chasqui in a long, dedicated chain. This chain of runners would then sprint, day and night, up from the sea-level desert, climbing thousands of meters into the Andes, passing the precious cargo from one hand to the next. The entire journey from the coast to Cusco, a distance of over 500 kilometers that would take a normal traveler weeks, was said to be completed in under 2 days. You take the basket and run. It's an awkward load. You can't tuck it away or secure it as easily as a quipu. You have to cradle it, keeping it level. You are making from the strange new weight. You can smell the sharp, salty tang of the ocean, an aroma utterly alien to your highland senses. You are not just carrying an object. You are carrying a piece of a distant world. This wasn't limited to just fish. The Chasqui network was the Empire's high-speed courier for any small, precious, or perishable item. Perhaps it was a rare medicinal herb from the Amazonian cloud forests, needed by a healer in the capital, or a pouch of exotic, brightly colored feathers from a tropical bird, destined to be woven into the emperor's tunic, or even something as simple as a special type of chili pepper that only grew in one specific valley. A strange and unverified story, often repeated, claims that the Chasquis were even used to transport ice. Runners would supposedly ascend to the high glaciers of the Andes, chip off blocks of ice, and race them down to the lower valleys before they could melt, allowing nobles to enjoy a child drink. While it sounds incredible, it speaks to the perception of the Chasquis' capabilities. Whether this specific task was real or a folktale, the core idea is what mattered. The network could conquer distance and time. Historians are divided on the ice minus delivery story, with many seeing it as a later embellishment. But the fish story is well minus documented by the Spanish and is considered to be factual. As you run with this fish, a new sense of responsibility settles over you. A mistake with a quipu could lead to a clerical error. A fumbled verbal message could be gobbled. But a mistake with this. If you drop and crush the basket, the Sepa Inca's dinner is ruined. The failure is immediate, tangible, and undeniable. The pressure feels more personal, more direct. You hand off the basket at your station. The transfer is swift as ever. The next runner grabs it and is gone. You've only carried it for a couple of kilometers, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But for that short time, you were directly serving the emperor himself. You were a waiter in the world's longest dining room. This duty highlights the dual nature of the Chasqui system. It was the backbone of imperial administration, the internet of its day, crucial for military and economic management. But it was also an instrument of pure, unadulterated imperial luxury and propaganda. Delivering fresh fish to Cusco was an act of political theater. It sent a clear message to any visiting noble or conquered chieftain. The Sepa Inca's power is so absolute that he can defy geography. He can command a fish to swim 500 kilometers uphill and have it arrive on his plate, as if it were just pulled from the water. And you, a boy with strong legs, were the one who made that magic happen. The Qhapaq Ñan is a marvel of engineering, a triumph of order over a chaotic landscape. But the road is not the territory. The moment you step off the neatly paved stones, you are in a world that does not answer to the Sepa Inca. The Andes are full of dangers that have existed long before the empire and will exist long after. One evening, as you are on your rest cycle, huddled by the small fire in your Chasqui was I, you hear a sound that makes the hair on your arms stand up. It's a low, guttural cough, coming from the rocks above your hut. It's a sound you know from the stories of the old men in your village. It's the sound of a puma. The mountain lion is the apex predator of the Andes, a sleek, powerful hunter that moves with an unnerving silence. They are masters of camouflage, their tawny coats blending perfectly with the dry grasses and rocks. An attack on a human is rare, but not unheard of, especially for a lone person in a remote area. You and your partner wordlessly move to block the low doorway of the hut with a few large stones, your hearts pounding in the sudden, tense silence. The puma does not attack, and eventually, the feeling of being watched recedes. But sleep does not come easily that night. From then on, every run is different. Every shadow among the rocks is no longer just a shadow. Every rustle in the grass is no longer just the wind. You become acutely aware that you are a solitary figure moving through a wilderness steaming with life that is utterly indifferent to your urgent imperial mission. The puma is the most formidable, but there are other, more common threats. There are venomous snakes that bask on the warm stones of the road, hard to spot until you are almost on top of them. You learn to run with a slightly different gaze, constantly scanning the path a few meters ahead for any sign of them. A snake bite in this remote location would be a death sentence. There would be no healer, no remedy in time. Your only hope would be that your partner could take the message from your fallen body and complete the run. Then there are the dangers from above. The Andes are home to the magnificent, terrifying Andean condor, with a wingspan that can exceed 3 meters. They are masters of the sky, circling on the thermal currents high above. They are primarily scavengers, not hunters of men, but their presence is a constant, a nerving reminder of your own mortality. To see their vast shadow pass over you as you run is a humbling experience. It feels like an omen. A more debated and likely folkloric danger was the belief in monstrous birds of prey that could, according to some tall tales, snatch a small llama, or even a lone runner. While scientifically baseless, These stories reflect the very real anxiety of being exposed and vulnerable in the vast, open spaces of the high mountains. The most constant and insidious dangers, however, are not from the fauna, but from the land itself. The Andes are geologically young and restless. Rock slides are a fact of life. You might come around a bend to find your pristine, perfectly maintained road buried under tons of freshly fallen scree. There is no going around. You have to clamber over the unstable, treacherous pile of rocks, wasting precious time and risking a serious fall. And then there are the precipices. The Qhapaq Ñan often clings to the side of near-minus vertical cliffs, a narrow ribbon of stone with 1,000-meter drop just a step away. The wind in these sections can be a physical force, threatening to rip you from your footing. You learn to run with a lower center of gravity, to lean into the rock wall, to never, ever look down. A moment of vertigo, a single misplaced step, and you would simply vanish. No one would know what happened to you. The message would just stop. You realize that the rigorous training, the discipline, the focus, it's not just about speed. It's about survival. Every run is a calculated risk. You are not just fighting fatigue. You are fighting gravity, weather, and a landscape that, despite the road's imposition, remains profoundly wild and untamed. The Empire has drawn a line of order across the chaos, but you are the one who has to run that line, and the chaos is always waiting, just inches from your feet. Your life is a chain of brief, explosive moments of action, linked by long periods of waiting. Most of that waiting happens in the tiny, isolated Chasqui huts, with only one other runner for company. But the Qhapaq Ñan is not just a line of these tiny huts. At more strategic intervals, often where valleys meet or at the base of a major mountain pass, you encounter the larger, more substantial tambos. And it is here that you meet another essential, yet often overlooked, figure in this grand system, the keeper of the station. These men are called tambu Couriers. They are not runners. Often they are older men, perhaps former soldiers or local officials, men whose legs are no longer fit for the road but whose minds are sharp and reliable. They are the managers, the quartermasters, the caretakers of these vital nodes in the imperial network. When you stumble into a tambo after a grueling run, it is the tambu Courier who greets you, his face a mask of professional calm. The relationship you build with these men is not one of friendship. It's a silent, functional bond, built on a foundation of mutual, unspoken respect. He sees in you a vessel of imperial will, a body pushed to its absolute limit in service to the state. You see in him the provider of your survival, the man who offers the blessed trinity of rest, a roof, a fire, and food. He will point you to a space to rest, tend you a cup of water, and then later light a warm, nourishing stew of chuno and perhaps a few scraps of Chasqui. He does this with an air of practiced efficiency. He has done this for hundreds of runners before you, and he will do it for hundreds after. He is a constant, steady presence in a life of perpetual motion. But here is a fascinating detail you come to observe. The tambu Courier is not just an innkeeper. He is an accountant. After you have eaten, you will see him go to his own set of quipus. These are different from the ones you carry. They are inventory logs. With deft, practiced fingers, he will tie a series of knots on a string. He is recording what you have consumed. 1 bowl of stew, a handful of toasted maize, a portion of coca leaves. He is updating the station's inventory, information that will be collected by a traveling official to ensure the tambo is properly resupplied. He is the guardian of the local LLQA, the state storehouse, ensuring its resources are dispensed correctly and accounted for. You are a debit in his meticulously kept string minus and minus not ledger. This raises a question that historians still ponder. What was the social standing of a tambu Courier? Was he a respected official, a vital part of the state bureaucracy entrusted with managing imperial resources. Or was he seen as a glorified servant, a man stuck in one place, managing potatoes while the Chasqui engaged in the heroic work of running? The truth is likely somewhere in between. His role was undeniably critical. Without him, the entire Chasqui network would collapse from hunger and exhaustion. Yet his work was sedentary, administrative, and lacked the visible, dynamic importance of a runner carrying a message from the Qhapaq Inca. You also learned that for many, this was not a permanent job. It was another form of maita, the rotational labor tax. The Tambu Kameo you meet this month might be a farmer from a nearby village, serving his turn for the empire. Next month, it might be a different man, a weaver or a potter, bringing his own quiet competence to the role. This system ensured that the responsibility was shared and that no single community was permanently burdened. It also meant that the faces in the tamboas were always changing, reinforcing the impersonal nature of the system. The individual man was temporary. The function he performed was permanent. Over time, you develop a quiet rhythm with these keepers. You learn to recognize the good ones, the men who keep the fire burning hot, who are generous with the stew, who can look at your exhausted face and know exactly what you need without a word being spoken. It's a quiet partnership. You are the fleeting, kinetic energy of the empire. They are its deep, foundational stability. You bring the news, and they provide the fuel that allows the news to keep moving. As you leave a tambo, rested and refueled, you do so with the comforting knowledge that miles down the road, another station is waiting, and with it, another face, another silent offering of sustenance. You've carried dozens of quipas by now. You felt their weight, the different textures of the cotton and wool strings, the complex bumps of the knots under your fingertips as you run. You know the simple ones by sight, the tribute reports with their neat rows of decimal knots, their colored strings for potatoes, maize, and lomas. You understand them as lists, as inventories, as spreadsheets. This is the official story, the one your instructor taught you. But as you spend more time on the road, in the silent, contemplative hours waiting at a tambo, you begin to wonder. You see Quipu IMAOCS, the official keepers of the quipas, at larger stations, not just reading the strings, but listening to them. They run their fingers over the knots, their lips moving silently, as if they are not just counting, but deciphering a narrative. You overhear fragments of their conversations, mentions of the story of the first Inca, or the memory of the great battle. And you can reconcile these words with the simple act of counting sacks of corn. Could this system, which seems so purely mathematical, also hold stories? Could a quipu be a history book? Taipo, a law code? You are, without knowing it, stumbling into one of the greatest unresolved debates in Andean archaeology. This is the question of the narrative quipu. The Spanish, when they arrived, were confounded by the quipu. Most of them, like the soldier and chronicler Pedro Cza de Leon, described it as a brilliant system for accounting, capable of recording numbers with great accuracy. They saw its power in administration and bureaucracy. But other chroniclers, like a man named Casisolia de la Vega, who was born of a Spanish conquistador and an Inca noblewoman, insisted it was much more. He claimed that the quipas contained the laws and statutes, as well as the succession of their kings and of their times. He argued that they held history, that the quipu were not just accountants, but historians and bards. As you sit in a tambo and discreetly watch a high-ranking official examining a particularly complex quipu, you can see why the debate exists. The object is a riot of information. There are dozens of pendant strings, some of which have their own subsidiary strings branching off. The colors are not simple. You see strings where two different colored threads have been twisted together, or a brown string that has a small, bright red tuft tied to one end. The knots are not just for numbers. There are strained, ornate knots at the very top of the main cord, whose function seems completely different. What could it all mean? Proponents of the narrative theory, scholars who believe quipas could record language, suggest a system of incredible complexity. Perhaps a certain color combination didn't just mean gold, but symbolized the Sapa Inca himself. Perhaps the direction a string was twisted, clockwise or counter-clockwise, held a specific grammatical meaning, like the tense of a verb. Maybe the intricate knots at the top weren't numbers at all, but some kind of topic marker, telling the reader, this quipu is about a battle, or this quipu is about a religious ceremony. It's a tantalizing idea, a 3-dimensional, tactile form of writing, unlike any other system developed on Earth. However, the skeptics have a powerful argument. No one has ever been able to definitively read a quipu as a narrative. Not a single one of the 1,000 or so surviving quipas has been decoded to tell a story. We can read the numbers, the sums, the totals, but we can't find the verbs, the nouns, the adjectives. The Rosetta Stone for the quipu has never been found. These scholars argue that the stories the quipu Qhapaq told were not in the quipu, but were simply cued by it. The quipu, in this view, was a powerful mnemonic device, a set of data points around which a trained historian would weave a pre-memorized narrative. The knots might remind him of dates and numbers, the colors of people and places, but the story itself resided in his memory, not in the strings. You will never know the answer. You are a runner, a transporter, not a decoder, but the mystery lingers in your mind. Every time you are handed a new quipu, you look at it with a new sense of awe. Are you just carrying a tax return? Or are you carrying a chapter of a great epic, a secret history, a story tied into a language of knots that has now been almost entirely forgotten? The strings feel heavier now, weighted not just with numbers, but with the profound mystery of a lost voice. The mystery of the quipu is a quiet, intellectual puzzle, but the mystery of your own identity becomes a more pressing, daily reality. You are no longer the boy who left a small mountain village. That person is a faint memory. You are now a Chasqui, and you are beginning to understand the strange, contradictory space you occupy in the world. You are respected. You are feared. And you are profoundly alone. You feel the respect every time you pass through a settlement. If your route takes you through the outskirts of a village, people stop what they are doing. Weavers look up from their looms. Farmers pause with their digging sticks in hand. They watch you pass with a look of awe. You are a living piece of the Great Empire, a flash of imperial speed and authority made real. Women might offer you a cup of chicha, the fermented corn beer, where a child might shyly hold out a piece of fruit. You rarely stop, but the gesture is what matters. It's a tribute, a sign of deference not to you, the boy, but to the office you hold. You are fed by the state, housed in its tambours, and your path is cleared by its soldiers. In a society with a rigid hierarchy, you have been granted a special, protected status, but mingled with that respect is a palpable sense of fear. When you approach a village, you are not a welcome visitor bringing cheerful news. You are an unknown. Your arrival is an interruption of the daily rhythm, a sign that the distant, all-minus powerful state has turned its attention to this specific place. As you run, you see a local official's posture straighten, his face becoming a mask of concern. What news do you carry? Is it a new tax levy? A summons for their sons to join the army for a distant campaign? Is it a message of displeasure from the regional governor? You are the bearer of tidings, and tidings from the powerful are rarely simple. You begin to understand a more subtle aspect of this fear. You are not just a messenger, you are the eyes and ears of the empire. A little minus known but logical function of the Chasqui was intelligence gathering. As you rest in a tambo, you might overhear a conversation between traveling merchants. As you run past a field, you might notice the crops are failing. You might see that a local bridge is in disrepair. This information, observed and passed verbally up the chain, is invaluable to the administrators in Cusco. You are a mobile surveillance unit. The people know this. They know that your passage is not just a delivery, but a quiet inspection. Their fear is not just of the message you carry, but of the one you might carry back. This dual identity of being both respected and feared creates a wall around you. It's what leads to the most defining feature of your existence, the solitude. You cannot form friendships in the way others do. Your only regular companion is your partner at the Chasqui was I, a relationship built on function, not affection. You pass dozens of other Chasquis on the road, but your interactions are measured in seconds, a brief, breathless exchange of objects and words. You are part of a massive, interconnected brotherhood, yet you will never know the names or stories of 99% of your brothers. You are a ghost moving through the lives of others. You see festivals but cannot join them. You smell cooking fires from family homes, but you eat your ration of toasted grains alone. You are perpetually in minus between places. Your only home the road itself. This intense isolation is a subject historians still debate. Was this loneliness seen as a terrible burden, the price for a life of service, or was it embraced as a kind of spiritual necessity? Some scholars argue that this solitude was believed to bring the Chasqui closer to the sacred world of the abusing the gods, the state of purity required for such a holy task. Others contend that it was simply a brutal, pragmatic reality of the job, and that the psychological toll on these young men must have been immense. You feel the truth of both. There are moments, running under the vast, starry sky, when the solitude feels like a kind of power, a sacred connection to the world. But there are other moments, huddled in a cold hut listening to the wind, when the loneliness is a hollow ache in your chest. You are becoming less of a person and more of a function. People don't see your face. They see the red tassel of an imperial message. They don't know your name. They know you as the Chasqui. You are a blur of state authority, a fleeting presence that is everywhere and nowhere at once. The honor is great, the responsibility immense, but the price is your own self, traded for a role that is vital, respected, feared, and utterly, inescapably, lonely. The code of the Chasqui is strict, the expectations absolute. You understand this intellectually, but understanding and witnessing are two different things. One day, on a stretch of road far from your home region, you see the price of failure firsthand, and it's a lesson that freezes itself into your memory. You arrive at a temple to find an unusual scene. There are two imperial guards there, soldiers in distinctive tunics and armed with star-headed maces. They are not passing through, they are waiting. The air in the station is thick with a heavy, anxious silence. The Tambu-Kameo is pale and avoids eye contact. Your running partner from this station, a boy you've shared rations with for the past week, is gone. Another Chasqui, a veteran with a grim face, quietly tells you what happened. The missing boy was given a message of high importance. Equip you with the Qhapaq Inca's crimson thread. It was a short, fed run, an easy leg of the relay. But he never arrived at the next station. Hours passed. The delay rippled through the system. A message that should have been miles down the road was simply lost. A search party of local villagers was sent out along his route. They found him late in the afternoon. He was not injured. He had not been attacked by a puma. He was sitting by a stream, his feet in the water, the precious quipu lying carelessly on the bank beside him. He claimed he was just tired, that he needed a moment's rest. But a moment had stretched into hours. He had broken the chain. The punishment for such a transgression is swift and severe. For a minor offense, laziness, a lack of focus, a runner might be beaten or publicly shamed. But for abandoning a message from the Qhapaq Inca, that is a crime against the state itself, an act of near-minus treason. The boy was taken to the nearest regional administrative center for judgment. The veteran runner tells you, his voice low and devoid of emotion, that he will almost certainly be executed. There is no appeal. The system's integrity is more important than any single life. This unforgiving discipline is the dark side of the network's efficiency. The Spanish chroniclers were morbidly fascinated by it. They recorded tales of harsh punishments, cementing the image of the Inca as stern and ruthless rulers. According to some of these accounts, the punishment for a failed Chasqui could be meted out not just to the individual, but to his community. A village that produced an unreliable runner could face collective punishment, perhaps in the form of extra labor taxes. This created an immense social pressure to perform. Your failure was not just your own. It could bring shame and hardship upon your entire family. Historians, as always, urge caution with these accounts. The Spanish may have exaggerated the brutality to justify their own conquest, painting the Inca as tyrants. The concept of collective punishment, in particular, is debated. Was it a standard practice, or a rare threat reserved for the most heinous failures? The archaeological evidence is silent on the matter, leaving only the often biased words of the conquerors. Still, as you listen to the story of the boy by the stream, the threat feels very real. Later that day, you see the consequence for a different kind of failure. A runner stumbles into the station, his leg bleeding, his face a mask of pain. He had slipped on a patch of wet stone and fallen badly, but he completed his run. He crawls the last 100 meters to hand off his message. His duty fulfilled even an injury. He is not punished. He is cared for. The Tambucamayo and other runners tend to his wound, packing it with medicinal herbs. He upheld the code. He prioritized the message over his own well-being. His failure was physical, not spiritual. The system can forgive a broken bone. It cannot forgive a broken will. The incident leaves a permanent mark on you. The abstract idea of duty now has a sharp, terrifying edge. You realize that the state that feeds you, that elevates you above nobles on the road, will also discard you without a second thought if you fail in your primary function. It is a cold, brutal contract. Your life has value only as long as you are useful, only as long as you keep running. The fear of failure becomes a new kind of fuel, one that burns colder but just as brightly as your ambition and your pride. Every time you take a quipu into your hand, you feel the weight of that responsibility in a new way. It is the weight of your own life. After a period on the flat, monotonous desert coast, you are reassigned once again. This time, you are sent to a region of deep valleys and raging rivers, a place where the mountains have been fractured into immense, steep, sided canyons. Here, the Qhapaq Ñan faces its greatest challenge, how to cross the impossible emptiness between two cliffs. The Inca's solution is one of the most terrifying and ingenious feats of engineering you will ever witness. As you approach the edge of a vast canyon, the stone road simply stops. In front of you, spanning a chasm that drops hundreds of meters to a churning river below, is a bridge made of grass. This is a Qhapaq, an Inca rope bridge. Your first instinct is a primal, gut-wrenching fear. The structure looks impossibly fragile, a spider's web slung across a terrifying void. It's made of thick cables, as thick as your thigh, woven from thousands of individual strands of ichu grass, the tough grass of the highlands. These main cables form the floor and the two handrails. The sides are a latticework of smaller ropes, creating a kind of swaying, fibrous tunnel. The bridge is alive. It sways and groans with every gust of wind, rising and falling in a gentle, nauseating rhythm. Crossing it is not like walking on stone. It's an act of faith. You watch another Chasqui approach the bridge ahead of you. He doesn't hesitate. He steps onto the woven floor and begins to run, his body moving in sync with the bridge's natural sway. He seems to flow across it, a picture of absolute confidence. Now it's your turn. You take a deep breath, mutter a prayer to the apus of the canyon, and step out over the abyss. The sensation is dizzying. The floor of the bridge sags under your weight, and the woven sides press in on you. Through the gaps in the floor, you can see the river, a tiny, silver ribbon far below. The roar of the water echoes up, a constant reminder of the deadly drop. You grip the handrail ropes, your knuckles white. The fibers are rough and hairy against your palms. You force yourself to do what you saw the other runner do. You run. You find the rhythm of the bridge, leaning into its sway, your feet light, your eyes fixed firmly on the other side. To look down is to invite disaster. These bridges were the pinnacle of Inca fiber technology. Their construction was a massive communal effort. Each year, the villagers on either side of the canyon would gather. The women would braid the grass into thin cords, and the men would then weave these cords into the massive, powerful cables. It was a ritual, a festival, and a vital act of civic duty, another form of the mighty labor tax. The old bridge would be cut and allowed to fall into the river below as an offering, and the new bridge would be strung across the canyon in a matter of days. A fascinating debate among engineers and historians today is just how strong these bridges were. The Spanish, despite their fear of them, marveled at their strength, claiming they were sturdy enough to support horses and men with cannons. Modern reconstructions and stress tests have shown that these grass cables were incredibly strong, with some capable of supporting tens of thousands of pounds. They were an organic, renewable, and brilliantly effective solution to a massive engineering problem. As you reach the solid ground on the other side, your legs trembling with a mixture of adrenaline and relief, you are filled with a new respect for the genius of your people. They did not have iron or steel, so they mastered fiber. They took the simplest material, the grass that grew everywhere, and used it to conquer the most impassable terrain. You also learn the dark side of these bridges. In times of war or rebellion, they were a strategic vulnerability. An army could be stopped by simply cutting the bridge. Stories were told of battles fought in the middle of these swaying structures, a terrifying, high-stakes fight where the greatest enemy was the bridge itself. Crossing the Qhapaq becomes a regular part of your duty in this region. The terror never completely fades, but it transforms into a kind of focused, adrenaline-fueled respect. You learn to trust the grass. You learn to trust the hands that wove it. It's a powerful metaphor for the empire itself, a massive, sprawling entity held together by countless individual strands, each one small and fragile on its own, but woven together into something of immense, world-spanning strength. And you, running across this swaying, living bridge, are just one of those strands. For months, you have been a cog in the machine, an anonymous runner carrying messages for governors, reports for accountants, and fish for the royal table. The work is vital but impersonal. Then, one day, you are handed a message that feels different. The quipu is not remarkable in its size, but attached to its primary cord is a single, vibrant scarlet tassel, woven from the finest vicuna wool. The official who hands it to you doesn't just pass it over. He presents it with both hands, his eyes cast downward in a gesture of profound reverence. For the governor of the northern provinces, he says, his voice barely a whisper, a verdict from the Qhapaq Inca himself. A cold thrill runs through you. This is not a tax record. This is not an administrative order. This is the direct will of the god-king. The Qhapaq Inca, the only Inca, is a divine figure. He is considered the son of Enki, the sun god, and his word is not just law. It is divine decree. To carry a message touched by his authority is to carry a piece of the sun itself. As you begin your run, the weight of the quipu in your hand feels heavier. Boom. Your sprint feels different, not just urgent, but sacred. Every footfall is a prayer. Every breath is an offering. You are no longer just a courier. You are an acolyte performing a holy rite. The familiar road seems transformed, its stones imbued with a deeper significance. This is the ultimate purpose of the Chasqui system, to project the Qhapaq Inca's power to the farthest corners of the empire. The network allowed the emperor to rule not as a distant, abstract figure, but as an immediate, ever-present reality. A rebellion could be quashed, a dispute between nobles settled, a sentence of life or death pronounced, all with the speed of your running feet. The Chasqui made the emperor's omniscience tangible. He could be in Cusco, but his will could arrive in Quito, hundreds of kilometers away, in a matter of days. You imagine the journey of this message. It began in the heart of Cusco, the navel of the world. The Qhapaq Inca would have spoken his verdict. A quipu would have instantly translated that verdict into the cryptic language of knots and colors. Then, it was handed to the first Chasqui, who would have sprinted out from the capital, a city whose very layout was believed to be a sacred representation of a puma. The message then passed from runner to runner, a pulse of divine energy flowing through the arteries of the Qhapaq Ñan. This raises a fascinating question for historians. Did the Qhapaq Inca ever interact directly with the Chasqui? The social structure of the empire was incredibly rigid. It seems unlikely that a commoner, even a high-status one like a Chasqui, would have come into the physical presence of the divine emperor. More likely, the messages were relayed through a strict hierarchy of officials. However, some romanticized chronicles, both Inca and Spanish, paint a different picture. They tell tales of the Qhapaq Inca personally rewarding a Chasqui who delivered a crucial message with incredible speed. This is almost certainly an embellishment, a piece of imperial propaganda designed to show the emperor's personal touch. The reality was likely far more bureaucratic and impersonal, but the myth served a powerful purpose. As you run, you find yourself pushing harder than ever before. You are not just trying to avoid failure. You are trying to be worthy of the message you carry. You pour every ounce of your strength and focus into this single run, this one link in a sacred chain. You are the vessel for a divine judgment, and the vessel must be perfect. When you arrive at the next Chasqui, the handover is imbued with a new solemnity. You don't just pass the quipu, you present it, nearing the gesture of the official who gave it to you. The next runner sees the scarlet tassel and understands immediately. His face becomes a mask of focused intensity. He takes the message and sprints away, carrying the emperor's word on the next leg of its journey. You watch him go, your body trembling with a mixture of exhaustion and spiritual exaltation. You have done it. You have served your God. For a few brief, glorious minutes, you were not just a runner. You were the voice of the sun. The experience leaves an indelible mark on your soul. It solidifies your purpose, transforming your grueling job from a mere duty into a profound calling. After carrying a direct message from the Qhapaq Inca, your perspective shifts. You begin to see the bigger picture, the grand design behind your daily sprints. You are not just carrying isolated packets of information. You are a single, sensing nerve ending in a vast, complex nervous system that covers an entire continent. One day, you carry a quipu detailing a pru harvest in a southern province. A few days later, you carry another quipu, heading in the same direction, that details a grain surplus in a northern province. You don't know the contents for sure, but you can guess from the context and the colors of the strings. A week after that, you see it, a long train of llamas, laden with sacks of quinoa and maize, marching south along the Qhapaq Ñan, led by a state official. You realize you have witnessed the empire thinking. You were part of the process that identified a problem, examined, located a solution, a surplus elsewhere, and executed the logistical response, moving food from A to B. The Chasqui network was the mechanism that allowed the Inca state to function as a single, coordinated organism. It wasn't just about top-down commands. It was about collecting data from the extremities and redirecting resources accordingly. This sophisticated, centralized command economy, a form of state socialism, was entirely dependent on the speed and reliability of your legs. You start to see this pattern everywhere. You carry a message with red strings, the color of war, heading east toward the jungle. Weeks later, you see columns of soldiers, their bronze-tipped spears glinting in the sun, marching east on the same road. You were the first flicker of a military campaign, the signal that set the whole machine in motion. This realization is both inspiring and deeply unsettling. The Empire knows everything. It knows how many potatoes are in every storehouse, how many able-bodied men live in every village, how much wool is produced by every herd of alpacas. This vast, ceaseless flow of information, carried in the quipus you transport, is the source of its immense power. It can anticipate needs, suppress dissent before it begins, and mobilize resources with an efficiency that no other state in the Americas, and few in the rest of the world, could match. A peculiar question that comes to mind is about the security of this information. In a world without envelopes or encryption, how was sensitive data protected? The primary security lay in the complexity of the quipu itself. Only a trained quipu CMAOC could read it, and you, the runner, were illiterate in its language. But what if a rival faction or a rebellious leader captured Chasqui and his quipu? This is where a little minus known, but brilliant layer of security likely came into play. Historians speculate that many quipus were deliberately incomplete. The quipu itself might contain the raw numbers, but the crucial context, the password to understanding what the numbers meant, was carried as a memorized verbal message. So a quipu might list the number 500. But the verbal message would specify 500 warriors, not 500 sacks of potatoes. Without the accompanying verbal key, the data on the quipu was almost useless. This dual-minus system of information transfer was a form of ancient to factor authentication. Both the physical object, the quipu, and the memorized information, the verbal message, were required to unlock the full meaning. This made you, the humble runner, a living encryption key. You come to understand your role in a new light. You are not just a delivery boy. You are a neuron firing in the brain of the Empire. You are the sensory organ that tells the center what the periphery is feeling. You are the motor neuron that carries the center's commands back to the periphery. The whole system, the road, the runners, the quipus, the storehouses, is a biological metaphor made real. It is a living network, and you are its lifeblood, its pulsing, electrical current. This perspective gives your grueling work a new sense of cosmic importance, but it also erases you as an individual. You are not a person. You are a function, a necessary, vital, but ultimately replaceable component. The thought is both exhilarating and terrifying. You are part of something vast and eternal, a system that will outlast you. The Empire's memory is not just in the quipus. It's in the institutional knowledge of the network itself, a network you now see with a clarity that few others could ever possess. The system feels eternal, infallible. The Qhapaq Ñan is a fact of the landscape, the Sepe Inca is a god, and the messages you carry are the immutable laws of the universe. For years, your world is defined by this perfect, humming machine. Then, slowly at first, then with gathering speed, you begin to hear things that don't fit. The news doesn't arrive in a quipu. It travels in a different way, in the whispers between runners at a tambo, in the worried conversations of traveling officials, in the rumors that spread like wildfire from the coast. The stories are strange, almost unbelievable. They speak of floating mountains on the great ocean to the north. They speak of men with skin as pale as the snow on the high peaks, and hair on their faces like the wool of a vicuna. They say these men carry sticks that spit fire and make a sound like thunder. They ride enormous, hornless deer that are faster than any man. At first, you dismiss it as folklore, a tall tale from the superstitious coastal folk. The Empire has faced threats before, from the fierce tribes of the jungle and the rebellious lords of the south. They were always absorbed or crushed. The Tawantin Suyu is the known world. What could possibly exist beyond it that could pose a true threat? But the rumors persist. They become more detailed, more concrete. A runner coming up from the northern coast speaks of seeing one of these pale men himself. He describes their clothing, not woven tunics, but hard, shiny shells that cover their bodies, gleaming like the sun on water. He talks about their weapons, long, sharp sticks of a metal you've never seen, far brighter and harder than the bronze of your own army's weapons. This is the first inkling you have of the arrival of the Spanish. It's the early 1532s, and Francisco Pizarro's small, ambitious expedition has landed on the shores of the empire. For the Inca, it's an event so far outside their context that they struggle to even categorize it. Are these men gods? Demons? Or just a new kind of barbarian? A deep uncertainty begins to filter through the empire's nervous system. The quibus you carry start to reflect this. You transport more messages with the red strings of war, crisscrossing the empire with a new, frantic urgency. The verbal messages you overhear are no longer about harvests and tribute, but about sightings, troop movements, and bewildered reports from local governors. There is a great debate among historians about how much the Inca knew about the Spanish before their fateful meeting at Qhapaq. Did the Chasqui network, this incredible intelligence-minus gathering machine, give the Qhapaq Inca Atahualpa a clear picture of the threat he faced? Or was the information so bizarre, so alien, that it was misinterpreted? Some argue that Atahualpa was well-minus informed but fatally arrogant, believing he could easily crush the small band of strangely minus-dressed foreigners. Others suggest that the information was confusing and contradictory, leading to a disastrous underestimation of the Spaniards' technological advantages and their ruthless intentions. The first contact was not a single event, but a confusing series of whispers and reports, and you are the one carrying them. You feel the change in the rhythm of the road. There's a new tension, a new fear that has nothing to do with pumas or rock slides. It's the fear of the unknown. The world, which had seemed so ordered and predictable, so completely under the control of the Qhapaq Inca, suddenly feels fragile. The foundations are trembling. One day, a message comes down the line that is so shocking, so world-minus shattering, that it is spoken only in terrified whispers. The Qhapaq Inca, Atahualpa, has been captured, taken by the Pale Man. The son of the sun, a living god, is a prisoner. The news is a collective gasp that travels the length of the empire. It doesn't make sense. It's as if someone told you the sun had been stolen from the sky. The infallible system has failed. The perfect order has been broken. The strange new sound you heard in the whispers from the coast has now become a roar that threatens to tear your entire world apart. Your role as a messenger has never been more important, but the messages you now carry are not of order and control, but of chaos, confusion, and a dawning, terrifying new era. The capture and eventual execution of Atahualpa throws the empire into chaos. The head of the great organism has been severed, and the body thrashes in a state of confusion and civil war. Brother turns against brother. As different factions of the Inca royalty vie for power, some collaborating with the Spanish, others resisting. For you, at Chasqui on the road, the world is turned upside-down. Your sacred duty becomes a bewildering, dangerous, and often contradictory task. One day, you are carrying a quipu from a regional Inca general, detailing troop movements for an ambush against the Spanish. The next day, you might be forced to carry a message for a Spanish captain, who now occupies the local tambo with his handful of soldiers. You learn a new language, not of nuts, but of survival. The Spanish conquest offers are quick to recognize the astonishing efficiency of the Chasqui system. They don't destroy it, they co-opt it. They become the new masters of the road. An Inca official would give you a message with a certain level of authority. A Spanish soldier gives you a command with a cold, hard point of a steel sword. You have no choice. You run. It's a deeply strange and humiliating experience. You are using the sacred road of your ancestors, the very sinews of your empire, to aid in its conquest. You carry messages that coordinate the movement of Spanish troops, that demand tribute of gold and silver from your own people, that spread the invaders' commands across the land. The system is so effective that it works even for its enemies. You have become a tool in the dismantling of your own world. The Spanish are baffled and impressed by you. They write in their chronicles about the runners of the road, marveling at your speed and endurance. They cannot comprehend how a message can travel faster than their own horses in the steep mountain terrain. You become a strange object of curiosity to them. A soldier might stop you, not to give you a message, but to inspect your Couriers, your coca pouch, or to simply stare at the powerful muscles in your legs. You are a piece of alien technology that they have captured and are now learning to operate. A critical point of contention for historians is the degree of Chasqui resistance versus collaboration. It's easy to paint a simple picture of forced servitude, but the reality was likely far more complex. Did some Chasquis deliberately gobble messages for the Spanish? Did they use their knowledge of the road to lead them into ambushes? It's highly probable. A runner could easily misunderstand a verbal instruction or take a wrong turn that leads a Spanish patrol into a dead mine and canyon. This subtle sabotage would be almost impossible for the Spanish to detect. The Chasqui network could have been a key instrument in the Inca resistance movements, led by figures like Manco Inca. Conversely, some Chasquis, like many other people in the empire, may have thrown in their lot with the newcomers. The Inca Empire was not a monolith of happy subjects. It was a vast, multi-ethnic state built on conquest. Many subjugated peoples resented Inca rule and saw the Spanish as liberators. A Chasqui from a non-Inca ethnic group might have willingly and eagerly served his new masters, seeing it as a way to liberate his own people. Your loyalty, once so simple and absolute to the Qhapaq Inca, is now a complicated and dangerous calculation. Who is your master? The Inca general hiding in the hills, the Spanish captain in the temple, or just yourself and your own survival? You run with a heavy heart. The pride you once felt is replaced by a gnawing sense of grief and confusion. You pass villages that have been ravaged, not by Inca wars, but by new, invisible enemies, diseases like smallpox and measles, brought by the Europeans, to which your people have no immunity. The neatly ordered world of the Qhapaq Ñan is now a landscape of chaos, ghost towns, and shifting allegiances. You are still a messenger, but the messages have changed. They are no longer the confident pronouncements of a stable empire, but the frantic, desperate communications of a civilization in its death throes. You are still running, but you are no longer running to uphold the order. You are running through its ruins. The years bleed into one another. The initial shock of the conquest settles into a long, grim reality. The Spanish are not just visitors. They are the new lords of the land. The empire, the Tawant in Suyu, is a memory. And its greatest physical manifestation, the Qhapaq Ñan, begins to crumble. You witness its decay with a sorrow that is deep and personal. This road, which you knew as a perfectly maintained artery of the state, is now neglected. The new masters of the land have different priorities and a completely different understanding of a road. The Spanish of horses. For them, a road is something for a horse, or for a wheeled cart. The magnificent stone staircases that allowed you to sprint straight up a mountainside are an infuriating obstacle for a cavalryman. You watch as Spanish soldiers, with no appreciation for the intricate stonework, pry up the sacred paving stones to create a rougher, more gently sloping dirt track for their animals. They break down the low side walls that once channeled the rainwater, causing erosion to eat away at the road's foundation. The tambo and Chasqui was I fall into disrepair. The meticulous system of state-sponsored supply is gone. The Tambu Kamaosi, the keeper of the station, is no longer a state official performing his mitre. He is now just a local villager, forced to provide food and shelter to passing Spaniards, often without payment. The storehouses, the QLLQs, once filled with carefully managed state resources, are looted and emptied. The fire in the hearth grows cold. You arrive at a station not to find a waiting partner and a warm meal, but an empty, derelict hut. It's that truth beginning to rot and collapse. The change is not just physical, it's ideological. The Qhapaq Ñan was more than just a transportation network. It was a sacred entity. Certain sections were used for religious processions, connecting holy hookahs or shrines. Its straightness was a testament to the Inca's divine power over the natural world. To the Spanish, it is just a path. They see no sacredness in it. They see only a means to an end, a way to move soldiers, extract gold, and administer their new colony. They build their new churches on the foundations of Inca temples, and they build their new roads on the bones of the old one, but without its spirit. One of the great historical ironies is that the very thing that made the Inca Empire so strong, its incredible connectivity, also hastened its fall. The Qhapaq Ñan allowed Pizarro's small band of conquistadors to move rapidly through the mountainous terrain, to communicate, and to project their power far beyond their numbers. And just as the road spread soldiers, it also spread disease. The great plagues that decimated the indigenous population traveled along the same routes you once ran, moving with the same devastating speed. The empire's arteries became vectors of their own destruction. You are still a runner, but your job is different now. The organized relay system has collapsed. Now, you are more of a long-distance courier, hired by a Spanish priest to carry a letter to the next town, or by a merchant to deliver a small package. The distances are longer, the support non-existent. You are running on your own, a freelancer in the ruins of a grand institution. You see other former Chasquis. Some have adapted, becoming guides for the Spanish. Others have simply returned to their ancestral villages, trying to pick up the life of a farmer they left behind so many years ago. They try to forget the feel of the road under their feet, the sound of the pututiu, the weight of a quipu in their hand. You find yourself running on a neglected stretch of the road, the stones scattered, weeds growing up between them. You look at the crumbling walls, the silted up drainage channels. It's like looking at the corpse of a great beast, its skeleton still visible on the landscape, a reminder of the magnificent creature it once was. The Great Road, which once connected the four corners of a universe, is slowly being reclaimed by the mountains, the desert, and the jungle. It is a physical manifestation of a dying world. You are an old man now. The strength has gone from your legs, replaced by a dull ache that echoes the thousands of kilometers they have run. Your lungs, once powerful bellows that defied the thin mountain air, now struggle for breath. You live in a small house back in your ancestral village, the one you left a lifetime ago. The world of your youth is gone. The Qhapaq Inca is a character in stories told to children. The empire is a ghost. You sit in the sun, chewing your coca leaves, a habit you never lost, and you watch the young men. They use the old paths, the winding tracks that follow the contours of the land. They have no reason to use the Great Road on the ridge above. It goes nowhere they need to go. It is a relic. Sometimes you walk up there. It's a slow, painful journey now. You lean heavily on a walking stick. You reach the place where the Qhapaq Ñan still exists, a faint scar on the landscape. In some places, the stones are still there, buried under soil and grass. In others, it's just a wide, flat impression on the land, an unnatural straightness in a world of curves. The Chasqui was where you spent your first assignment is a pile of rubble, a few foundation stones outlining where a home of frantic waiting once stood. The memory of your role as a Chasqui has faded into legend. The local people know the stories. They point to the old road and call it the path of the Inca. They tell their children about the runners who could outpace a deer and deliver a message from the mountains to the sea in a single day. The stories are exaggerated, imbued with magic and folklore. They say the Chasquis could talk to the mountain spirits, that they could fly over the canyons. You listen to these stories and you smile. The truth was almost as incredible as the myths, but the myths are what remain. The quipu is gone. The Spanish, in their religious fervor, saw the knotted strings as tools of idolatry and witchcraft. They ordered them to be burned. In great pyres, the libraries of the Inca, the censuses, the histories, the poems, if they existed, were turned to smoke and ash. The knowledge of the quipu Qhapaq, the man who could read the strings, died with them. The memory of the empire, once so meticulously recorded, was deliberately erased. Only a few hundred quipas survive, smuggled away and hidden, their secrets locked away forever. The loss is an open wound in the history of your people. Historians in the centuries to come will try to piece together your story from the biased accounts of your conquerors and the faint traces you left behind. They will excavate the tamboes, map the roads, and analyze the surviving quipas, forever debating their true meaning. They will debate your diet, your training methods, your social status, your psychological state. They will try to understand what it felt like to be you. You look at your own grandchildren. They know you as a quiet old man who tells strange stories. You try to explain to them what it was like, to feel the wind in your hair as you sprinted across a rope bridge, to hear the urgent call of the Pututi echoing in a valley, to feel the sacred weight of a message from a god in your hand. They listen politely, but they cannot truly understand. That world is too distant, too different from their own. You are a fading echo in the mountains. You are a living remnant of a lost world, a keeper of a memory that is growing fainter with each passing year. You sit on the edge of the crumbling road and look out over the valley. You can almost see them, the ghosts of your youth, the other runners in the chain, appearing as specks in the distance, running towards you, their faces masks of fierce determination, carrying messages that no one will ever read again. The echo of their footfalls is a sound only you can still hear. The sun on your old, wrinkled skin feels warm. You close your eyes, and the sounds of the village, the dog barking, the cry of a child, begin to fade. The rhythmic chewing of the coca leaves in your cheek slows, and the world dissolves into a comfortable, quiet darkness. The echo of a million footfalls on a stone road finally goes silent. And then, you open your eyes. The air is the same, thin, crisp, and pure. The great snow minus, Qhapaq Ñan and gate still pierces the sky. But the road beneath your feet is different. You are standing on a perfectly preserved section of the Qhapaq Ñan. Your feet are not in simple llama-hide sandals, but in sturdy, modern hiking boots. A brightly colored backpack rests on your shoulders. You are you, Nil. In this time, a traveler come to witness the ghost of an empire. The path is alive again, but not with Chasquis. It's alive with trekkers from all over the world. Their gore-minus-X jackets a rainbow of colors against the muted tones of the Andes. They carry cameras and GPS devices. They follow a guide who points out the masterful stonework, the drainage channels, the astronomical alignments. He speaks of the Chasquis, of their incredible speed and endurance, and you listen as if hearing it for the first time. You learn that this road, this network you once bled for, has been given a new, global title, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's not just a piece of Peruvian or Ecuadorian history. It is recognized as a treasure belonging to all of humanity. It's one of the most ambitious heritage sites in the world, a transnational nomination involving 6 different countries, a testament to the sheer scale of the empire it once served. The world that erased the quipu now venerates the road it traveled on. As you walk, you come to a deep river canyon. Down there, spanning the chasm, is a curious Qhapaq. It's not a relic. It is new. Its golden minus green grass fibers vibrant against the blue sky. Your guide tells you that every year, in a tradition that has been passed down for 500 years, the local communities on either side of the canyon gather to rebuild this bridge. It is a 3-day festival of weaving, ritual, and communal effort, a living, breathing connection to the time of the Inca. This single, swaying bridge is perhaps the most powerful legacy of all, not a ruin to be studied, but a skill to be practiced, a tradition kept alive not in a museum, but in the hands of the descendants of the people who first built it. But this new life brings new questions. You overhear a debate between a conservationist and a tour operator. This is the modern conflict of the Qhapaq Ñan. Should the road be primarily a site for tourism, bringing much needed income to remote communities, but also causing inevitable wear and tear on the ancient stones? Or should it be preserved as a pristine archaeological monument, with access strictly limited to protect its integrity? There is no easy answer. How do you best honor this legacy? By using it, and loving it to death, or by fencing it off, preserving its body, but perhaps losing its soul as a living path? This is the new, complex message the road carries, a question that historians and governments are still trying to decipher. You stand on a high pass, the wind whipping your face. You look back at the line of the road, snaking its way across the immense landscape. It's no longer an instrument of imperial control or a path of personal survival. It is now a place of pilgrimage, of adventure, of reflection. You feel the presence of the thousands of runners who came before, their ghosts running alongside you. Their duty is over. Their messages are lost. But the path remains. A testament not just to a forgotten empire's genius, back to the simple, incredible, enduring power of a single human being, putting one foot in front of the other, running against time itself. And so, the story comes to a close. The dust settles on the ancient road. The echoes of running feet and the faint cry of the put-you dissolve into the whisper of the Andean wind. You can feel the journey ending now, the sharp details of the mountains and the knotted strings softening, blurring at the edges. Your mind, which has been sprinting across centuries, can finally slow its pace. Let the images drift away like clouds over the high peaks, the flicker of a torch in the night, the glint of the sun on a golden ear spool, the silent concentration on a young runner's face. These things are now part of a dream you are leaving behind. Your breathing is slow and deep, in rhythm with the gentle hum of the world around you. The path has led you here, to this quiet moment, to the edge of sleep. There are no more messages to carry, no more rivers to cross. There is only rest, deep and still unturned. The Great Empire has slept for 500 years. Then now, it is your turn.